With the release of the new April 2020 format, or as a lot of people like to call it, Master Rule 5, there have been quite a few deck profiles that I have been working on that I would looking forward to bringing into this new format. And as you can tell by the title of this video, as well as the camera shot that I have right now, one of the decks that I've been working on is Frightfurs and slash Fluffals. And it just feels really good to fusion summon as many monsters as possible again. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will say the same thing. So before I get into this deck profile, if you guys want to help support the channel, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you stay updated on my latest Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Also comment down below as to what other deck profiles you guys would like to see for this new format. So with that being said, let's get started with this Frightfur deck profile. So to start off with the monsters, of course, I am running 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. This is basically the Stratos of your deck. You can search your deck for either a Fluffal monster or Edge of Sabers. Pretty straightforward stuff. Then afterwards, 3 copies of Fluffal Bear. This lets you set Toy Vendor from your deck by sending Fluffal Bear from your hand to the graveyard. And it also has another effect where you can activate, if you don't want to use its effect to search for Toy Vendor, you can tribute it and recycle polymerization from your graveyard. Afterwards, 2 copies of Fluffal Penguin. It has an effect where you can special summon an additional Fluffal monster from your hand. But I usually find myself using its effect where if it's sent to the graveyard as fusion material, then you can draw 2 and then discard 1. Pretty good. Then afterwards, 2 copies of Fluffal Wings. You basically +2 off of this card. You banish this card and another Fluffal monster from your graveyard, draw 1, and then afterwards you can send Toy Vendor from your field to the graveyard, draw another one, and then you get an extra search off of Toy Vendor. From what I remember, this next card was not included in my initial Frightfur build, but I decided to include it this time. Fluffal Cat, and only one of that. You guys can run 2 copies, but I think 1 is just enough. You're going to find yourself recycling polymerization with Fluffal Cat instead of using Fluffal Bear's effect, because you want to use Bear's effect to set Toy Vendor and then recycle it using Fluffal Cat's effect. You can recycle polymerization with Fluffal Cat's effect if it's sent to the graveyard as fusion material. Then afterwards, Fluffal Owl, of course, to search polymerization or to use its built-in fusion summoning effect. And then finally, for the Fluffals, I run Fluffal Octopus. You can use it to recycle any of your Fluffal or Edge monsters, and if it's sent to the graveyard as fusion material, then you can recycle 2 of your banished monsters. So those are my Fluffal monsters. Now for my Edge monsters, I am running 3 copies of Edge Chain. This card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard that you could search your deck for a Frightfur card like Frightfur Patchwork or Frightfur Fusion. Initially, I thought that you could just dump this into the graveyard with Foolish Burial to get your search, but like I said, it has to be sent from the hand or field to the graveyard. Still a pretty good card. There are plenty of ways to dump this into the graveyard, of course, to fusion summon or to or with a Toy Vendor's effect, and yeah. Then afterwards, I'm running only 1 copy of Edge of Sabers. I still have the need to run 2, but in the meantime, I feel that 1 is just enough. There is still plenty of Edge monsters to use in order to fusion summon your monsters from your extra deck. So yeah, you can put 1 card from your hand on top of your deck and then special summon it. Good for link material, good for fusion material, of course. I did replace my 2nd copy of Sabers with Edge Imp Continuator. You guys don't have to run this card. I just like the extra draw off of this. So yeah, you can replace the Continuator with the 2nd copy of Sabers if you want to. And now, for the special twist that I have, I decided to run Sky Strikers. Initially I didn't think I would be running Sky Striker monsters in my deck, but I decided to in this build. 2 copies of Ray, and I decided to replace the 3rd copy of Ray with Sky Striker Ace Rose. So if a Sky Striker monster, Sky Striker Ace monster, is a normal or special summoned, then you can special summon Ace Rose from your hand. It also has another special summoning effect where if it's in the graveyard, if an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of your card effect, then you can special summon it. Then you can negate the effects of 1 face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. And it's non-targeting, by the way. Ray, of course, is to have on your field, so that way you can go into your Link 1 Sky Striker monsters. And if you have a Sky Striker, you have any other monster on your field, that you can just link this one and the other monster away for a Sky Striker Ace Rose. I mean, Sky Striker Ace of Zeke. So those are my monsters. Now for my spells, of course, I'm running 3 copies of Toy Vendor. I don't see any reason why you should run less than 3 copies of this. This card is one of the cards that just gives the Fluffal archetype a lot of consistency. So you can discard a card, draw 1 card, and then if it's a Fluffal monster, you can special summon any monster from your hand. Otherwise, you discard the card that you drew. What's really cool about it is that you draw a card and technically it's in your hand now. So if the card that you drew is a Fluffal monster, you can special summon that card right away, or any other monster from your hand. And also, if it's sent to the graveyard, whether it's from the hand or the field or from your deck, then you can search for your deck for a Fluffal monster or Edge of Sabers, just like Fluffal Dog can. And then afterwards, obviously, I am running 3 copies of Polymerization. Secret rare too. I just really like how the super rare foiling looks. I will even settle for the anime artwork of Polymerization. I think that's from Fusion Enforcers. And then afterwards, 3 copies of Frightfur Patchwork. Of course, a search for Polymerization, or as well as any edge monster from your deck. Afterwards, 1 copy of Frightfur Factory, as well as Frightfur Fusion. Usually, what I would like to do is I would try and get Frightfur Fusion into my graveyard, so that way I can banish Frightfur Factory, so that I can fusion summon from there. Also, I have ways in which I can send Frightfur Factory from my field or hand, or from my deck to the graveyard, so that way I can recycle my Frightfur Fusion if I wanted to. Now, as you guys already saw, I am running Sky Strikers, but exactly which Sky Striker spells am I running? Well, to put it simply, I am running 1 copy of Hornet Drones, actually our only 1 copy of Hornet Drones, and also our 1 only copy of Multi-Roll. So Hornet Drones basically is a 1 card Link 2 monster. So what you do, you can activate it, special summon your Sky Striker token, link it away for Sky Striker Ace Kagari, and then recycle your Hornet Drones to activate it again. And that way you can go into a card like Cross Sheep or Sky Striker Ace Zeke. Sky Striker Ace Zeke. Yeah, more on that later. But yeah, these 2 cards are the reason why I decided to just build on running Sky Strikers. So that's why I decided to run those 3 Sky Striker Ace monsters you saw earlier. So this is the first reason. The second reason is that Multi-Roll lets me send a card like Toy Vendor from my field to the graveyard. So that way, my opponent cannot respond to any of the activations of my spell cards. Not spell effects, but spell cards. So yeah, this is basically a magical meltdown for the Sky Striker archetype, or in this case, my deck. So my opponent cannot respond to my activation of Polymerization or Patchwork or Frightfur Fusion. Those are just to name a few of the cards that my opponent can't respond to. Anyway, I also decided to run Metalfoes Fusion. You guys can replace it with Upstart Goblin if you want to, but I just like this for being able to recycle it and then keep drawing a card every single turn that I can. Afterwards, Foolish Burial Goods, of course, to get Toy Vendor to my graveyard, or either of the Frightfur cards over here. Afterwards, Foolish Burial, 1 for 1, and Reinforcement of the Army. And last but not least, I am running 1 copy of Monster Reborn. Let's see, look, all of these cards that I'm running here. And last but not least, guys, here is my extra deck. I've decided to run 3 copies of Frightfur Sabertooth. When this card is fusion summoned, you can special summon a Frightfur monster from your graveyard. And also, all Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack. And that's for each Sabertooth that you have on the field, so that's pretty cool. If this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So that's a pretty neat perk that you have at the end there. Afterwards, 2 copies of Frightfur Kraken. You guys can run 3 copies if you want to. Its first effect is a soft once per turn, so you can use it as many times, just as long as you keep special summoning it to your field. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. It doesn't destroy, it doesn't banish, it just sends to the graveyard. So that's pretty cool. Also, it can make a second attack during each battle phase, but it cannot attack directly during the turn that you activate its first effect. So yeah, afterwards I decided to run 1 Frightfur Tiger, 1 Frightfur Daredevil, and the latest Frightfur monster that we got out of Dual Overload. It's called Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare. I'll explain that a little bit more. So Frightfur Tiger, I just like its special effect, where you can pop as many cards as the number of fusion materials you use for its fusion summon. Frightfur Daredevil, I like it for its burn damage. And finally, Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare. It gains attack for each fairy and fiend monster in your graveyard during your turn only. Also, when this card destroys a monster by battle, that you can send Frightfur, Fluffal, and or edge monsters from your deck to the graveyard equal to the original level of that destroyed monster. Of course, this doesn't work against every monster this card destroys, but still pretty good effect. It also has a protection effect where if it's targeted by a card effect, you can banish a Frightfur monster from your extra deck and protect it. So those are my fusion monsters. Now for the link monsters, I am running one copy of Kagari. Of course, this card got unbanned, but I feel that one Kagari is just enough. Afterwards, one copy of Hayate. This card can attack directly. Also, if this card battle, that you can send a Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard. So if you have Hayate on the field and you didn't link summon your Kagari yet, that you can send, let's say Sky Striker Multi-Roll to the graveyard, and you can recycle it with Kagari later, just simply by linking this away for Kagari. And I also run Sky Striker Ace Zeke, as I already mentioned a couple of times already in this video. So it requires 2 monsters, including a Sky Striker Ace monster, and it can only be link summoned. And if this card is link summoned, you can target one face-up monster on the field and banish it until your opponent's next end phase. Also, yeah, it's a effect over here where you can target one other card you control, and you can send the targeted card to the graveyard. So ideally, if you have Hornet Drones, you can link up into Sky Striker Ace Zeke, send Toy Vendor from your field to the graveyard, and then you get your extra search off the Toy Vendor, which is pretty cool. And then afterwards, yeah, I'm running quite a few dual overload cards in this build. And I'm running Predaplant Verte Anaconda in this extra deck as well. Being able to copy the effect of a polymerization or fusion spell you send to the graveyard is really, really cool. If you don't have a polymerization or Frightfur Fusion in your hand right now, you can just use this effect, and it's pretty cool. Afterwards, I decided to include Barricade Board Blocker. Barricade Board Blocker. So yeah, this card is mainly here just so that you can recycle your Toy Vendor if you want to. You guys don't have to run this, but I think it's pretty cool. Afterwards, Cross Sheep. It has 4 effects that you can activate if a monster is special summoned to either of the zones that it points to. But what's really here for it is that you can special summon a level 4 lower monster from your graveyard. It could even be Sky Striker Ace Rose or Ray if you want to. And then finally, the last card that I decided to include is Boral Sword Dragon. Obviously, ideal for OTKs. As for the side deck, it's still kind of early in the meta to decide as to what cards to include in the side deck. Also, it's because we don't have any competitive Yu-Gi-Oh events going on right now. I'll be sure to include that for a later update. In the meantime, guys, thank you all so much for watching this Frightfur deck profile. Be sure to let me know down in the comments as to what cards you want to include in the side deck. Also, any other improvements and suggestions that you think I should make to this deck, be sure to leave those down in the comments as well. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to help support the channel, be sure to hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you stay updated on my latest Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Also, if you guys want to help further support the channel, be sure to use my TCG Player affiliate link in the description so that way you can support the channel as you buy the cards that you need. This has been the Mage of Ancients. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again.